Hey guys, Level Cap here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the single-player campaign for Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, the Remastered Edition. Now, it's been almost 10 years since I first played through the Call of Duty Modern Warfare campaign. It came out in 2007. I played it on the PC. I'm playing it on PS4 now, as that's the only way I was able to get an early access key for this game, but it will be coming out on PC and Xbox later. Now, this is quite possibly one of the most important remasters I've ever seen because it's based on one of the most important shooter games that's ever come out. Call of Duty 4 established the Call of Duty franchise in a way that the previous games had not, and it really set the bar for what other developers had to strive for when it came to multiplayer gameplay and single-player gameplay. Now, admittedly, when I first fired this up, I was expecting to feel a very old-school game with sort of a new school skin on it, like a new updated graphics engine, but still kind of old school gameplay, because I knew Activision was trying to remaster this game really accurately to the original. What was so surprising though is that when I actually booted it up and started playing through the first missions, it felt very modern, but not because they've changed the fundamentals of the gameplay or the mechanics, but because the mechanics themselves in Call of Duty 4 were so advanced for their time. They really just set the standard for what other shooters and what modern military shooters hold themselves to. So if you were to put this shooter in the hands of any present day gamer who had no idea what Call of Duty 4 Advanced Warfare was, they'd probably think this shooter was very modern, up to date, and extremely cool, because there's nothing really holding it back. No old school mechanics, no old school storytelling or narrative format that is something that we phased out. It's all very relevant, and more so, it's extremely good. The graphics are absolutely excellent. Now, I haven't played it on the PC yet, so I don't know if the PC is going to be getting even more graphical options, but on the PS4, it ran smoothly, it looked unbelievable, and the scenes have just been shot so cinematically. I believe they're matching the camera up to the original game as well. There doesn't seem to be a lot different in terms of how the camera work or the introductory to missions progresses, so the graphical update has just brought an old school game that was done so masterfully into the limelight once again, and it holds up. And I realized at one point where I was just admiring the beauty and the impact and powerfulness of some of the scenes where like an entire battalion of helicopters is flying over this city that's just rendered beautifully with RPGs flying up at the helicopters, and you're engaging in this intense combat mission where you eventually rappel down to the city and engage in an intense on-foot battle. But I just realized that while I was so amazed by these scenes and how beautiful it looked, that I probably felt the exact same way in 2007 when I was playing the original campaign, because at that time the graphics were still incredible and breathtaking. And the missions were just so well written and well crafted that as you progress through it, it feels like, again, a very modern game. It doesn't feel like it's being held back in any way whatsoever just because it's replicating the old school game so accurately. It was just such a great game back then that it holds up today with a reskin. And I think I'm partially so surprised by how modern this game feels, because when you look at some of the other remastered games out there that go back for slightly earlier games, I guess, like Halo Combat Evolved, the remastered edition of that is a great game, but it also feels fairly old school because it's using those old school Halo mechanics from the original Halo. They didn't change them up much, which is good. It's sort of paying tribute to the original title, but you compare it against a modern Halo game and it feels very, very different. In fact, I think Halo Combat Evolved is probably as far as you can go back when you're doing a complete reskin or a remastering of a game before you have to do a reimagination. It's like the recent Doom game. It was a great game, but it was nothing like the original Doom campaign, because the original Doom campaign was done with voxels and very limited technology. So if you updated that campaign in the modern engine, it would feel fairly quaint and rather simplistic compared to what we're used to nowadays, just because of the extremely old school nature of it. One thing that many of the Call of Duty campaigns share, and that I think is one of its strongest features, is the fact that Rarely are you a lone wolf soldier going in alone. They make you feel like you're actually part of a group of other soldiers and that you're not necessarily the most important guy on the team. You're just one of the soldiers. And in this game, it's no different. Your teammates, your AI teammates can back you up. They can take out enemies. They don't feel completely useless. They react with you realistically. They naturally sort of say things to you to sort of push you in one direction or the other, depending on what the mission needs. And it's just a great way to go through the campaign as opposed to you being separated from the rest of your guys somehow and then having to lone wolf your way through the campaign. It's certainly something that's much more resource intensive when it comes to development and just making the engine work, and there's potentially a lot more bugs that can arise because of having to rely on AI teammates. And there was definitely a few bugs that I ran into running through the campaign again, and I don't know for certain, but I swear I had these exact same bugs when playing through the very first time. And that is where you need to go through a few doors, or you need to progress through a part of the mission where you need the AI to open the door for you, and for whatever reason you didn't hit the trigger mechanism and they're just not opening the door. And I had to restart one of the missions all the way from the start because the checkpoint still wouldn't have the AI open the door for me. So I had to go back quite a ways a few times, and there was another time on the tanker mission where I had to restart the mission because escaping the flooding ship, for whatever reason, it just kept knocking me off of this one railing in this really weird glitchy manner, and I just had to restart it, and it didn't do it after I restarted the mission. But there was definitely some weird bugs in there that could have been ironed out. I mean, these are priority 1 bugs. A bug that stops progression through a mission where you literally have to restart the game in order to fix it. That's a pretty bad bug to have in a game. It wasn't something that stopped me from playing through it, but it definitely broke the immersion for me. Now, because Call of Duty 4 was the first modern military Call of Duty game, I think Activision felt compelled to put a little bit of everything in there. So you get all types of different combat. You can be a helicopter gunner, you can be in massive infantry assaults, but you also get to play this one amazing mission that I think everybody knows called All Ghillied Up. And I was so excited to play the remastered version of this, and it absolutely held up. It was not a letdown in the slightest. The new and improved graphic engine just made it that much more immersive. You basically get to play what is the quintessential idea of the ultimate military sniper in your full-on ghillie suit, blending into the environment. You and your partner are sneaking through this level with the ultimate mission of stopping a nuclear arms deal from going down by assassinating the guy who's basically setting up the deal. And the gameplay begins so brilliantly with some of the most fun stealth gameplay I've played in any single player mission to date. And then by the time you get up to your target and you take the shot, you've basically blown your cover at that point, and the entire rest of the mission is like run and gun intensity. And it's just such a blast and such a good mission that I think is still one of the best single player missions in a modern military shooter to date. Now, when I finally finished up the single player campaign, I had a blast with it, and I was very, very satisfied with my gaming experience, but it also left me in somewhat of a contemplative state because we've had many military shooters come out since then. So many people have been trying to replicate that Call of Duty experience. Even the Call of Duty franchise, I feel, has been trying to live up to that original Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare campaign, and I feel like so many of them are trying but falling short. Now, granted, there's a lot of elements that have to go right in order for it to be that good. This is a franchise that's built itself on its amazing single-player experience. Call of Duty 4, I think, was the epitome of that. They've all been pretty enjoyable and amazing since then to various degrees, but again, Call of Duty 4 was sort of the most realistic approach to the Call of Duty franchise in terms of narrative storytelling. It wasn't so insanely over the top that you couldn't believe what was happening, and it was grounded enough in reality to make it that much more intense, that much more believable and fun. Now, for those of you who have not yet played the original Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare single player, you're in for a real treat with this game. If you like single players, if you like military shooters, this is going to be the game to get. The remastered edition looks beautiful, and I can't wait to try out the multiplayer, especially on PC when that finally launches. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.